Hey there. So today I want to talk about something that I found to be quite relevant, and that is the case of Jeffrey Rush. Now, I think that this is relevant because we have been discussing VIC MIGNOGNA. We have been discussing what exactly is in a defamation case, whether or not people could be held liable, whether or not they're culpable for certain statements out there, what exactly works as proof. You know, we keep hearing people say over and over again that 280 character culture slices of defamation, they aren't that. They don't hurt anything. In fact, hashtag listen and believe. The problem with that is, can you prove anything? Even if you're saying something is true, even if you know that it's true, can you prove that it transpired? See, that's the problem with a lot of this stuff. That would be the spin a lot of people would take on. But, when you think about what we're looking at with social media versus what we're looking at in the court of law, yeah, you actually have a burden of proof. Again, substantiation. That's not accusation. That doesn't mean that it happened. It doesn't make it all real. I've been saying that with the VIC MIGNOGNA case quite a bit lately, that people that are going to court, this could only be a first wave, and that certain articles out there, ones that said, hey, hugging a person is assault, and someone like, say, a Jesse Pridemore saying, a guy pulling my hair, that's some kind of R to the A to the P to the E, yeah, that doesn't hold up. All of the things that these people have been saying about girls, with accusations about P to the E to the D to the O, if you cannot prove that, it doesn't matter if it's recycled lore. You could still be on the hook for it. So here we have 10 Daily talking about Jeffrey Rush being awarded a total of $2.9 million after winning his defamation case against a Sydney newspaper publisher. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it played out and how this also mirrors the VIC MIGNOGNA situation in a lot of ways. Because when you go back and you look at what happened with this guy, the guy asked them to stop. Basically, hey, will you stop talking about this because this never happened. This is going to do damage. But you know how these bloodhounds are. They've got to jump all over it. They've got to ignore what's being said because they think that there are no consequences. Actions, they don't have consequences anymore in this little 280 character culture world. After a little while, after litigation was actually being pursued, he asked for $50,000 and he asked if they would actually give him a formal apology. Two things there. Not a lot to ask for, if you ask me, considering the fact that, well, if they lose, and they did lose, you see how that played out. This isn't something that they're going to go back and repair either, because when we look at this, it will be a very short article, but when we look at it, look at how the settlement is placed. You're talking about so much money decided, then so much more added on, and then future damages added on to that. See, that's the thing that a lot of people are not including. Say in the VIC MIGNOGNA situation, you're talking about damages that were done in the moment. You're talking about damages that transpire week to week, but what about year to year? What about decades from now? That's the question here, because these people have admitted to wanting to damage. I did a video talking about what Jamie Marchi was out there liking. Remember, liking and retweeting, that matters. Yeah, and in that, she was saying, well, even if Monica loses, she'll be going to more and more cons. And VIC MIGNOGNA, he'll be going to less and less. So, Project One. Everything's good to go, except, of course, somebody's going to be paying quite the price if it goes a specific way. So here's the article here. It starts out talking about, again, actor Jeffrey Rush being awarded $2.9 million after winning his high-profile defamation case against a Sydney newspaper publisher. Now, something I want you to note in here is that the justice here, he found that the Daily Telegraph's publisher, Nationwide News, and journalist Jonathan Moran were reckless regarding the truth when they reported Rush had been accused of inappropriate behavior during a Sydney theater production of King Lear. Now, that's not talking about just the publication. I mean, if you look at that, what it's saying is, hey, there's a burden of proof out there. And that burden of proof, it can actually go beyond saying, well, we think, or he's accused of, and so on. Defamation is a very interesting beast, and so many people out there, they have not only skirted that idea, but they've walked right across it. We've seen people connected to multiple outlets do that, places like A&N, because these folks, they can't just report on an item. They can't say, well, maybe this happened. What they have to do in 280 character culture is come out and give you follow-up after follow-up after follow-up. I mean, remember, after IO9 dropped their article, for example, you saw the person come out and talk about it again and again as they blocked people. You saw them go back and forth with specific brigaders trying to fill in the blanks. And then, after litigation was announced, they decided to come out and they decided to tack on even more. So when you think about that, and you think about all of the people that give back pats and give those thumbs up versus what exactly happens, yeah, kind of doesn't match up, does it? So, the judge, they found the poster and 2 articles contained several defamatory meanings, including that Rush was a pervert and sexual predator. The publisher hadn't proven that those were true there. So when you think about that too, again, proof. Again, that burden of proof, it doesn't fall on Rush to say, hey, I'm not those things. What these people tried to say was true. No, it falls on the people throwing that out to say, hey, can we prove it? And again, accusation is not substantiation. I know I've beat that idea over the head, but it's something that should matter. These people, they thought due process did not matter whatsoever. And well, somebody might actually have a very, very rude wake-up call, especially when they were throwing around words like P to the E to the D to the O. Now, looking at the breakdown of money here. So, he was awarded $850,000 in damages, plus $42,302 in interest for non-economic losses. But then the judge or the justice wanted to consider special damages for lost earnings, cost, and interest. So, they actually had to get together, these parties did, and after they did, they came to the conclusion that he was awarded a further $1.98 million for past and future economic losses. So it doesn't make him whole again. He still is going to carry around the burden and the stigma of it. But when you think about the amount of money that ends up in his pocket, yeah, that's very telling. And especially, again, when you look at statements like I was saying before, you see them in 2008, offer to settle in exchange for an apology and $50K, but that wasn't good enough. Now, again, when I'm talking about damages, remember this kind of stuff. When we're talking about future, we're talking about present. This is the kind of thing that you're looking at. We saw this happen out in the open. So again, this proves that the guy actually had loss. We're not just talking about Rooster Teeth, and we're not just talking about Funimation. We're talking about this as an example. And certain cons went out of their way to make sure that they said, well, because of X, we did this. We went to Y, and Y was cancellation. And if you look at all of these, you notice one pillar out there standing alone. And that pillar, Anime Matsuri, they also took a beating for what they did. So again, when you're thinking about future, after all of this is bypassed, he may have conventions come up, but certain ones, they don't have to announce anything. They simply bypass. They skip because of damages. You can always wonder why they do it, but they're not going to come out, and take out a newspaper clipping anymore. No, they're just going to say, hey, he's not there. And again, remember with Funimation, they went out and they had something to say in public. It wasn't just them going out and saying, we're letting the guy go. No, if you look at the series of commentary that they put out there as well, they let the man be defamed by their very own words. They didn't keep an investigation inside. So it doesn't matter what was there. And again, when you're talking about this too, you look at what was considered, again, proof. I mean, what exactly is proof? But hey, I thought this was interesting because I think that it ties to it. There are more and more of these cases coming out too, and really, they're actually based on things like the spreadsheet that kicked all of this off. That's another thing as well. I did a video talking about that initial coverage within that spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet, it was modeled off of another spreadsheet. That spreadsheet, it caused someone to get sued for $1.5 million because, hey, accusation again is not substantiation. And these people, they're just putting out something and then saying, well, we're not actually saying that you did any wrongdoing. Yes, you are. You are indeed doing that. You're spreading it. And even if you're smart enough to keep it out of certain articles, you're not smart enough to keep it out of your timelines. You're not smart enough to stop back-patting yourselves. I'm looking at you, ANN, and your CEO there. You're not smart enough to play that game and to keep yourself perfectly clean. But anyhow, you all tell me what you think about this. Now, if you like this kind of content, if you say to yourself, that umbrella guy, I love what you do. I love your channel. Well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, make sure that you're subbed. Make sure that you hit that bell for daily notifications. Like the videos you like and leave comments out there. It definitely helps out. And if you love that umbrella guy and want to go further, there are links in the description. Now, you're not under any obligation to check those out. I appreciate you showing up. But if you want to help the channel out, there's a PayPal link. There's a Patreon link, and there's the case of the littlest umbrella. Now, this has 2 comic books attached to it. We're talking about an all-ages Lovecraftian tale, and we're also talking about one that works as a satirical approach to the madness that we see, because we have 2 comics, but 1 message, and that message is gatekeepers cannot tell us what to do. That's something that we all need to adopt as well, telling gatekeepers that they can't tell us what to do. They can't tell us what to think. They cannot tell us what exactly law looks like, because this isn't justice. This isn't law. What is something more like, well, this here, when you're talking about cases, when you're talking about furthering the idea that justice trumps all. But anyhow, again, tell me what you think about this in the comments. And I want to close by saying, while all of these people seem to want to forget you, I don't want to. So, thank you for showing up. I appreciate you. You make endeavors possible. As these people forget, find people that won't. Find people that do appreciate you. Places like this. Again, agree, disagree, whatever. You're still welcome here. Thank you.